As tensions rise globally, one issue that has increasingly come to the forefront of political discourse is the resurgence of the Khalistan movement. A movement once largely suppressed, it is now gaining attention in countries like Canada, the UK, and the US, where the Sikh Diaspora is large and active. But before we go any further, it's important to make a critical distinction. Sikhism, the rich and diverse faith followed by millions worldwide, is not synonymous with the Khalistan movement. The vast majority of Sikhs, both in India and abroad, do not support separatism. The Khalistan movement seeks the creation of an independent Sikh state, which began in the 1980s and gained significant momentum during the Punjab insurgency. Although the movement was largely quelled after Operation Blue Star and the political crackdown that followed, it has never disappeared entirely. In recent years, with the rise of social media and increased political activism, the cause has found renewed support, particularly among younger generations in the Western world. In countries like Canada, where Sikhs make up a significant portion of the population, younger Sikhs, many of whom are second and third generation immigrants, are increasingly drawn to the idea of Khalistan. A 2019 poll in Canada found that 1/3 of Sikhs expressed some level of support for the cause, seeing it as a cause and symbol of resistance and self-determination. Similarly, in the US and the UK, there is a growing sense of support for Khalistan, especially among those disconnected from the violence of the 1980s, but still deeply engaged with their Sikh identity. A key figure in this resurgence is Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, a prominent separatist leader who has used social media to rally support among the diaspora. Pro-Khalistan demonstrations have spiked by 30% over the last 5 years, with younger generations leading the charge. For many of these young Sikhs, the movement is not about violence, but about asserting their identity in a multicultural society. I want to state again and strongly here that Sikhs do not support the Khalistan cause. Many influential members of the diaspora argue, in fact, that it does not reflect the majority of Sikhs who are focused on community service, education, economic advancement, and social integration in their adopted countries. Prominent Sikh leaders in the US have consistently opposed this movement, warning that it alienates Sikhs who are well integrated into their communities and prefer to focus on issues like business, education, and social justice rather than political fragmentation. On the international stage, the role of governments has become increasingly significant. Under President Trump, the US took a firm stance on separatism, aligning with India's position against the Khalistan movement. In 2017, the US State Department officially labeled Khalistani militants as terrorists, which further strained relations between pro-Khalistan elements and the Indian government. Trump's administration also emphasized counterterrorism and national security, and rightly so, making it clear that separatist movements that threaten regional stability would not be tolerated. This diplomatic stance significantly impacted US-India relations in a good way, with both countries working closely to combat radicalization. When it comes to Canada, the Sikh diaspora is the largest outside of India, and Khalistan sentiments are more prominent. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government has faced criticism for not taking a stronger stance or turning a blind eye at times against pro-Khalistan groups, citing the country's commitment to freedom of speech. However, this has led to tensions with India, especially as pro-Khalistan groups continue to hold rallies and demand independence in provinces like British Columbia and Ontario. Similarly, in the UK and Australia, the governments are trying to balance freedom of expression with national security concerns as pro-Khalistan protests increase. So where do we go from here? What do we do? The resurgence of the Khalistan movement is not just an issue for India. It's clearly a global concern that demands the active engagement of the Sikh diaspora. It's crucial to understand here that separatism, like the demand for Khalistan, is not about self-determination. That's akin to a state or a province rebelling to fight for its own independence. This isn't about cultural pride here. It's about challenging the very idea of national identity and unity, which is the cornerstone of stable, functioning societies. Young people, especially those far removed from the history of the 1980s insurgency, are being drawn into a narrative of resistance, of extremism. But what they're not told is that separatism leads to division, not empowerment. Mainstream media also shamelessly misrepresents the movement, making it seem like a noble cause. But supporting separatism is not the way forward. It only creates instability and conflict. Unity is required. not fragmentation. For NDTV, this is Priyanka Deo signing off. Namaste.